Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at the life and career of a true guitar hero, John Sykes.
Yeah, a real legend who recently passed away.
Sadly.
Known for his powerful riffs and those soaring solos, he was just a vital part of some iconic bands like Thin Lizzy and Whitesnake.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've got two Brazilian news articles here that chronicle his journey through the world of rock and metal, so
I'm pumped. Let's dive in.
get ready for some electrifying stories.
So John Sykes, he first burst onto the scene with a band called Tigers of Pantang.
Right.
Now this band was part of something called the NWOBHM.
The new wave of British heavy metal.
Yes, the new wave of British heavy metal, which might sound a bit like alphabet soup to some people.
It is kind of a mouthful.
But it's actually a really pivotal chapter in heavy metal history.
It is. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So picture this. It's the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
Punk is exploding. Heavy metal's feeling a little stale, you know?
A little tired.
Yeah, then all of a sudden these bands like Iron Maiden, Sykes and Def Leppard,
Oh, yeah.
and of course, Tigers of Pantang.
There it is.
They just come storming onto the scene, infusing the genre with this raw energy and a punk-inspired edge.
So it's almost like a revitalization of metal.
It was a total revitalization, a sonic earthquake that changed the landscape of metal.
Wow. So I can see why Sykes got his start there. That's got to be an amazing scene to be a part of.
Definitely.
So what did he do with the band?
Well, he contributed to their first two albums
Okay.
and was actually working on the third when he got an offer he just couldn't refuse.
Ooh, what is
That to join Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy, another legendary band.
Yeah.
But wasn't this kind of a challenging time for them?
It was, they weren't at the peak of their popularity.
Right.
And Phil Lynott, their charismatic frontman, was, facing some personal struggles.
So Sykes steps into this band during kind of a turbulent period. What kind of impact did he have on their sound?
Well, he actually played on their final studio album, Thunder and Lightning, in 1983.
Okay.
And despite the turmoil surrounding the band, it's still considered one of their heaviest and most energetic albums.
Really?
A real testament to Sykes's power and drive, I think.
So he cuts his teeth with this NWOBHM, and then he injects this serious energy into Thin Lizzy,
Yeah.
and then comes Whitesnake.
White.
This is where things get really interesting.
This is where it gets juicy.
I dare you.
See, before Sykes joined them, Whitesnake was actually in some deep financial trouble.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, they were struggling. But then Sykes arrives. He contributes to the Slide It In album in 1984.
Yeah.
And things just start to turn around for them.
Slide It In is a fantastic album. And then there's the self-titled Whitesnake album
1987.
at 87, which just blew up the chart.
Oh, yeah. Those two albums with Sykes on board are Whitesnake's most commercially successful to this day.
Wow.
We're talking millions upon millions of records sold.
Yeah, and let's not forget those iconic hits. Is This Love, Love Ain't No Stranger, Still of the Night?
Oh, yeah. All over this track.
Sykes' fingerprints are just all over them.
Absolutely. His playing added this hard-driving bluesy edge
Yeah.
that just took Whitesnake to a whole other level.
You know, it's really fascinating to think how his arrival just completely changed the trajectory of this band.
Totally.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of changing trajectories, our sources mentioned this historic moment, Rock in Rio, 1985.
Yeah.
Whitesnake playing to 250,000 people.
What an adrenaline rush that must have been.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
So this was during the Slide It In tour
Oh,
with Sykes in his element, just shredding those iconic riffs in front of a sea of fans.
the energy,
It
man.
must have been incredible.
Just the roar of the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Epic.
totally epic. But this incredible partnership with Whitesnake, it didn't last forever, did it?
It didn't, unfortunately, no.
The articles mentioned kind of a dramatic falling out between Sykes and David Coverdale.
A classic rock and roll story.
Oh, I'm ready.
Coverdale fell ill during the recording of the 1987 album, and when he recovered, he wasn't too happy with Sykes, essentially taking the reins in his absence.
So they clashed over creative control.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough when you're in the middle of making an album.
It was a recipe for disaster arguments, accusations, financial disputes, the whole 9 yards.
And the irony of it all is that the very album they fought over became this massive success.
It did.
But Sykes was already gone.
He was already out.
Talk about a bittersweet victory.
Yeah.
So what happened after Sykes left Whitesnake?
Well, he went on to form Blue Murder,
Okay.
poured his heart into it.
And the sources also mentioned a brief return to Thin Lizzy.
Right, but neither of those projects really reached the same level of success as his time with Whitesnake.
It makes you wonder, why didn't these projects reach those same heights? Was it just bad timing? Was it just shift in the musical landscape, or was there something else going on?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's worth noting that he also pursued a solo career, constantly demonstrating that drive to create.
It speaks volumes about his dedication to his craft, even when he's faced with some setbacks.
Definitely. Yeah. And speaking of dedication, there's also this interesting little tidbit about him almost joining Guns N' Roses in 2009.
Wait, tell me more.
So he actually auditioned to replace Robin Fink.
Okay.
And by all accounts, he nailed the guitar parts. There's always a but.
There it is.
Apparently, his strong personality didn't quite mesh with the band's dynamic.
Which, as we've seen, can be both a blessing and a curse.
It can.
So close yet, so far.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Right.
we should also mention the Winery Dogs.
Yeah. A super group with all the right ingredients for success.
It seems like it.
But it just wasn't meant to be with Sykes, unfortunately.
Right, he left pretty early on and was replaced by Richie Kotzen.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from his NWO BHM roots to his stints with Thin Lizzy and Whitesnake.
To almost being a member of Guns N' Roses.
And even almost being a member of Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind.
A whirlwind of talent, intensity, and, sometimes turbulent relationships.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, John Sykes' legacy in music is undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of legacy, I was blown away to learn that he's included in Guitar World's 100 greatest heavy metal guitarists of all time.
A well-deserved honor.
Absolutely. He really earned his place among the guitar gods.
He did.
But sadly, as we mentioned at the start, this rock legend recently left us.
Yeah.
At the age of 65, after a battle with cancer.
A huge loss for the music world.
Yeah.
The announcement on his official Instagram was really heartfelt, emphasizing the love and gratitude he felt for his fans.
It's really touching to hear that even amidst his own struggles, he was so appreciative of his fans.
Yeah.
It just makes you reflect on the power of music to connect people and inspire them, even when they're facing adversity.
It does.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll continue our deep dive in the next part, exploring more of Sykes' career and impact on the world of music. Stay with us. Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and times of John Sykes. As we were talking about Whitesnake's success,
Yeah.
it really makes you think about how crucial Sykes was to their evolution.
We talked about how Whitesnake was really struggling before he joined.
Right.
And then with Sykes on board, they released these two massively successful albums.
Yeah.
What was it about his style that just brought about such a transformation?
Well, he brought this raw, almost bluesy, hard rock energy to their sound.
Yeah.
And it was just a perfect match for David Coverdale's voice. It just added this grit and power to their melodies.
Right. It's almost as if he injected a shot of adrenaline into Whitesnake's music.
He did.
And slid it in. And the self-titled album, Whitesnake, went on to sell millions upon millions of copies.
Millions.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
And those albums spawned some truly iconic hits.
Oh, yeah.
Is this Love, Love Ain't No Stranger, Still of the Night?
Huge.
These are staples on rock radio today.
Yeah.
You can just hear Sykes' influence in those tracks.
Yeah.
Those driving riffs, the fiery solos. It's just pure energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of energy, how can we not talk about that legendary Rock in Rio performance in 1985?
Oh, man.
Whitesnake playing to a crowd of over 250,000 people.
The energy must have been electric.
I can't even fathom that many people in one place all rocking out to Sykes' riffs.
No.
That was a serious career highlight for him.
Oh, yeah. It's a moment etched in rock history,
Yeah.
You've got Sykes at his prime, just tearing it up on stage, feeding off the energy of that massive crowd.
Wow.
It's the stuff of legends.
It really is. And, it's inspiring to see that even after that dramatic split with Whitesnake, Sykes never gave up on his passion.
Right.
He formed Blue Murder.
Yeah.
He briefly rejoined Thin Lizzy and even had a solo career.
Yeah, it's a testament to his dedication to his craft,
Yeah.
Even when things didn't quite go as planned, he just kept pushing forward, exploring different avenues for his musical expression.
It makes you wonder what drove him to keep going, even when those later projects, didn't reach the same commercial success as his time with Whitesnake.
I think it speaks volumes about his character.
Yeah.
He wasn't solely driven by fame or fortune.
Yeah.
He was a true artist, constantly seeking new ways to challenge himself and his listeners.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to experiment and take risks, even if it meant stepping outside of the mainstream spotlight.
He wasn't.
And remember that story about him almost joining Guns N' Roses?
Oh,
in
yeah.
2009.
That would have been something else.
Can you imagine Sykes and Guns N' Roses?
I know.
What happened?
Well, from what we've gathered, he absolutely nailed the audition,
Okay.
showcasing his incredible guitar skills.
Yeah.
But, as is often the case with these rock and roll stories, personalities clash.
Right. His strong personality, which served him so well in some situations, might have been a bit of a roadblock in others.
Could have been.
It's interesting to think about maybe it was a matter of creative differences or just a clash of egos.
Who knows?
Whatever the reason, it's just another fascinating chapter in his story.
It is.
Definitely. And speaking of fascinating chapters, let's rewind a bit and talk about his time with Thin Lizzy.
Ah, Thin Lizzy, a legendary band with a rich history.
Yeah,
But they were definitely going through a rough patch when Sykes joined.
right. Phil Lynott, their iconic frontman, was battling personal demons.
Yeah.
And the band's popularity wasn't what it used to be.
It
It
wasn't.
must have been a really tough environment to step into.
It was, but Sykes rose to the challenge.
Well,
He brought his signature energy and fire to their music, and he contributed to their final studio album, Thunder and Lightning.
that album is often cited as a return to form for Thin Lizzy, a testament to Sykes' impact on their sound.
Absolutely.
He really seemed to revitalize them,
Yeah.
at least for a while.
He did. It's a powerful and emotional album marking the end of an era for them,
Right.
but also showcasing Sykes' ability to breathe new life into a band's sound.
It's amazing how he could adapt his playing style to fit different bands and genres
Yeah.
while still retaining his own unique voice.
Definitely.
It's a testament to his versatility and talent.
It is. And speaking of his unique voice, let's shift our focus to his musical legacy and what made him such a standout guitarist.
Okay.
What are some of the things that come to mind when you think about John Sykes' playing?
Well, for me, it's that incredible blend of power and melody.
Yeah.
He could shred with the best of them, but his solos always had this sense of purpose,
Right.
a story to tell. They weren't just mindless displays of technical skill.
No, he had this uncanny ability to combine that blistering speed with emotional depth.
Yeah.
His solos could soar and wail,
Mm.
but they always felt grounded in the song's emotion.
Right.
That's what made his playing so captivating.
Exactly. And his riffs were equally memorable.
Oh, yeah.
They were heavy and driving, but they also had this infectious groove to them.
You just couldn't help but move to them.
Yeah.
His riffs were the backbone of so many iconic songs.
They were instantly recognizable, and they had this raw power that could shake you to your core.
Absolutely.
He was a master at creating riffs that were both heavy and catchy.
And he was such a dynamic performer.
Oh, he was!
He brought so much energy and passion to the stage.
a true showman.
You could tell he was giving it his all every single time.
Every time.
It's sad to think that we won't get to see him perform live again.
It is.
But his music will live on, and his influence on rock and metal will continue to inspire generations of musicians.
It will.
Absolutely. And speaking of legacy, what do you think John Sykes' greatest contribution to music was? What will he be remembered for?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think he'll be remembered for his incredible talent, of course.
Yeah,
His ability to play with such power and precision was truly remarkable.
it was.
But beyond that, I think he'll be remembered for his unwavering passion and dedication to his craft.
Definitely.
He never gave up on his music, even when faced with setbacks and challenges.
And that's a powerful message for all of us, no matter what our passion may be.
I completely agree. He was a true believer in the power of music,
Yeah.
and he never stopped striving for greatness.
He didn't.
And that's something worth celebrating.
He was a unique and unforgettable talent, and his music will continue to inspire and move people for generations to come.
Absolutely.
On that note, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll delve into some final thoughts on John Sykes' impact on music and what we can learn from his incredible journey.
Stay with us. We're back for the final part of our John Sykes deep dive. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
From his early days in the NWOBHM
Yeah.
to those massive stadium gigs with Whitesnake.
Yeah.
He sure left his mark on the world of rock and metal.
He did. And as we reflect on his career, I keep coming back to that question.
Yeah.
What was his most significant contribution to music? Was it his technical brilliance, his songwriting, or something else entirely?
Yeah. It's a tough one to answer. There are so many layers to his legacy. I mean, his guitar skills were undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
He could play with such ferocity and precision, and those soaring solos were just epic.
You're right. He had this raw power and virtuosity that was just captivating, but I think what really set him apart
Yeah,
was his ability to infuse that technical prowess with genuine emotion.
right.
His solos weren't just exercises in shredding.
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah.
story to tell. They could make you feel something.
Exactly. It was that combination of technical mastery and heartfelt expression that made his playing so unique. And let's not forget his songwriting contributions.
Oh, no.
Those Whitesnake hits we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
they weren't just catchy tunes. They had this undeniable energy and swagger that resonated with millions of fans.
He had a knack for crafting riffs that were both heavy and memorable.
Yeah.
They were the driving force behind those iconic songs, the backbone that gave them their power and groove.
Think about Still of the Night. That opening riff just grabs you and doesn't let go.
Oh, yeah.
It's instantly recognizable.
It is.
And it's got that unmistakable John Sykes energy.
It's a classic, and it's just one example of his ability to create riffs that were both powerful and enduring.
And beyond his musical contributions, I think John Sykes also embodied a certain spirit,
Yeah,
a certain attitude that really resonated with rock and metal fans.
definitely.
He was a rebel,
Yeah.
a risk taker,
Yeah.
someone who wasn't afraid to push boundaries and challenge conventions.
He definitely had that rebellious streak. He wasn't content to just follow the trends. He wanted to forge his own path, create his own sound, and that fearlessness is inspiring.
It is, and even when he faced setbacks, like the falling out with Whitesnake or the less successful projects after that,
Right.
he never gave up. He kept creating, he kept pushing forward. He was a fighter.
He was, and that resilience, that unwavering commitment to his craft is a powerful message for anyone pursuing their passion, whether it's music, art, or anything else.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that the path to success isn't always smooth. But if you believe in yourself and your vision, you can overcome those obstacles and achieve great things.
That's a great takeaway. John Sykes' legacy is so much more than just a collection of great songs and blistering guitar solos.
It is.
It's about passion, perseverance, and the courage to follow your own creative vision no matter what challenges you may face along the way.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think that's the message we should carry with us.
Yeah.
John Sykes' music will continue to inspire and energize us.
Yeah?
But his spirit, his unwavering dedication to his craft, should also serve as a powerful reminder that anything is possible if we dare to dream big and work hard to achieve those dreams.
Well said. John Sykes may be gone, but his music and his legacy will live on forever. He was a true guitar hero,
He was.
and we'll always remember him for his incredible talent, his fiery spirit, and his unwavering passion for rock and roll.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legacy of John Sykes. We hope you enjoyed the journey. And for all you guitar enthusiasts out there, what's your favorite John Sykes riff or solo? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.